Check it out. This is called a Sherp. It's an amphibious vehicle, land or water, costs over $100,000. And how do you come to own something like this? Well, here's the secret. Never pay off your mortgage. Okay, so honestly, the whole purpose of paying off a mortgage is not necessarily to buy this toy, but it might be a jet. It might be something different. Like, people think in this rat race of life that I'm supposed to pay off all my debts, be debt-free, and then someday when I get to retirement, I'll feel great because I'll be secure. But that is actually not what happens. Paying off your mortgage ends up being one of the worst financial mistakes of your life.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go!
So the message of the video is pretty simple. Don't pay off your mortgage. And when I say don't pay off your mortgage, what I actually mean is don't ever pay it off. And I get that this message is going to upset some people, but I want you to bear with me because what I want to do is separate from like the emotional reasons and say, I don't know, are you interested in making more money? Like if you want to be financially more intelligent, then you're going to want to watch this video. There are several reasons why people have this urge to be debt-free and why they want to pay things off, like their house. For example, financial security. Paying off the mortgage provides a sense of financial security. Owning a home outright means no more monthly payments, reducing stress, reducing uncertainty. And you're like, Kris, wouldn't that be like the best way to live? Now all of a sudden, I can save more money, I can get ahead, and I just don't have to worry about my biggest expense. But you also might be thinking, but Kris, it's the interest. Like I got a 30-year mortgage and they told me I'm gonna pay for my house like 3 times just in the name of interest. Like, isn't that a waste? Like, aren't there better things to do with my money? Some people, it's pure emotional. It's called peace of mind. Literally, I just wanna be debt-free because I'll just be able to like reduce the anxiety and I'll feel safer somehow. Like if I lost my job or something bad happened, at least my home is not gonna be at risk. And then there's the retirement. People are like, well, when I retire, I'm not gonna have a lot of money. So if my house is paid off, I'm gonna feel gooder. Do you know what all these people share in common? Dave Ramsey. Here's Dave Ramsey's game plan. Don't buy a house unless you're totally out of debt. Then you should get an accelerated 15-year mortgage. If you currently have a 30-year mortgage, you should refinance it onto a shorter term because at all costs, get out of debt. If you can buy a house by putting 100% down, which basically means screw the bank, you don't have to pay for any of their fees, you don't have to pay any interest, just buy it cash, he would say that that is 100% the best plan. And he also basically says that the monthly payment should be no more than a quarter of your take-home pay. You should make larger payments every month to pay off your mortgage early, and that this is especially good for people who are bad with money. Now, the one thing that I do appreciate from Dave Ramsey is that if you're bad with money, I want you to follow Dave Ramsey. Like, he's good for people that just suck at money. But Dave sucks in a whole world of people that are actually financially astute with money. They're responsible with money. They make good choices with money, and yet they flock to that hyper-conservatism. And here's the problem with Dave's game plan. It's gonna rob you of your number one asset. And it's not money and it's not getting out of debt. It's time. You see, getting out of debt is a process that takes time. So for example, paying off those credit cards, then paying off student loan debts, and then paying off your house and paying off everything. The goal is like, I just want to be debt free. But for most people, it'll take a whole lifetime, which means that when they finally have no debt, then they can start saving a little bit of cash and then they can finally invest. There's only one problem with investing. Investments take time to mature, and you don't have any more time because you wasted all your time going after a level of security, by the way, not the important one. You see, having no debt might feel really good, but there's one big problem with no debt. You can't eat it. Like, do you understand that when you have to go shopping for clothes, no debt can't buy you stuff. It can't put food in your belly. It doesn't send you on a vacation. It literally just means that you have less expenses, but it doesn't actually mean that you have money. So if you're gonna choose the Dave Ramsey plan, you might be wasting decades of your life so that you can get that satisfaction of being out of debt. When you actually make it to retirement, however, and you're no longer really employable, guess what you're going to have to do to survive? You're going to have to go into debt. You're gonna have to sell your stuff. And then you'll have a little bit of money and it's not gonna last you to the rest of your life. You will live in fear, you'll live in scarcity, and you'll live in this energy of never enough. So here's my advice. Go into debt and love it. What? Yeah, me and debt, we get jiggy with it. I love debt. It's even a little kinky for me. No, for real, like I want you to think about this. Like debt that costs you money, I get it, that is bad. Dave's right, stay away from that stuff. But debt that makes you money? Are you kidding me? That is something you should want as much of as you can possibly get your hands on. Like right now, put an opportunity in front of me to get another $10 million of loan. I will sign right now on the dotted line. I will take that $10 million and it's gonna have a monthly payment and I will be in debt. But why would I want it? Because I'm gonna invest it and I'm gonna make money with it. And no, you don't have to be a financial genius like me to do that. You are your own financial genius with this game plan. Buy a home as soon as possible, take out a 30-year mortgage unless there's a 40. Unless there's a 50. Like, I want you to have the longest mortgage possible, which will make your payment as small as possible, which means you'll preserve as much excess cash as possible. So instead of trying to pay off the house, you actually have money for the one thing that you need to escape financial bondage. You need money to invest. It's investing that's gonna set you free. And when it comes time to buy this house, I want you to put as little money down as possible and let the bank give you as much of their money as possible. Go into as much debt as you possibly can, because as your home appreciates and increases in equity, you're even then gonna pull that money out and go even deeper into debt so that you can do what? Buy more real estate. Why would you do that? Because more real estate are more assets, and those assets that make you money, give you tax benefits, give you all of these write-offs. You want as much of that as you possibly can have. Rich people play the game of money to win, and poor people play the money game to not lose. I was a college kid when I bought my very first house. I was a college kid when I bought my very first home. My in-laws, they thought I was crazy. I put the smallest amount of money down, $3,300. The bank put up the other 97% of the money. And you know what I did? I moved in, I took on basically $100,000 of debt. I rented out my basement apartment, and they paid me rent. And you know what that rent did? It covered the whole mortgage, which meant that I was living in my house for free. Meanwhile, I bought it $40,000 under market, and with time, it went up in value. It gave me tax benefits in addition to the income that I got in the basement. Well, a year later, I decided to go back to the bank. Instead of like trying to pay the house off, I did the opposite. I said, give me some of that equity. So they gave me $20,000 line of credit. Guess what I used it for? Oh, you guessed it. I bought another house. This was a bigger house. It was a more expensive house. I bought this house worth $250,000 for $160,000. I didn't buy it. My house bought it. And I went gladly into I gladly went into over $140,000 of more debt. Now, the reason why I did that is because the family that moved in there, they promised to buy that house over time. So they gave me a premium on positive cash flow of $600 a month after all my expenses were paid. That $600 a month, that was $600 extra dollars a month that I didn't have to earn at a job, so I didn't have to work harder grinding my bones to death, and I walked into $90,000 of equity. Guess what I did next? You're so smart. I used the equity in the second home to buy my third home. And this pattern continued. And so 4.5 years later, I owned 25 properties. Now, I was millions and millions of dollars in debt, but I was worth $1.6 million. And after my debt was serviced, I had $12,500 left over every single month. I love debt. And there are 3 major reasons I want to give you right now for why you should never pay off your mortgage. Number 1, a mortgage is good debt. A mortgage is a good debt because what it does, it's an asset that goes up in value. And if you rent the house out, it can pay all of the expenses, and the leftover money is called a positive cash flow. So now you're being paid to have this debt, and you have more money literally every single month because you're in debt. It goes up in value, which means this debt actually makes you money with time. And then the family that's renting it out, you've basically outsourced the paying off of the house to them instead of you. And so when they're paying the rent every month and you're servicing the mortgage, guess what's happening? Some of that money goes towards interest, but some of it goes to what's called principal reduction. Basically, the people renting out the house, they're paying off the house for you. The next reason to never pay off your house is that the moment you've paid it off, you've eliminated the number 1 tax benefit in this country. Did you know that the government allows you to depreciate your house over 27.5 years? They basically say all the stuff inside is gonna wear out and the roof's gonna wear out, and you're gonna have to replace it with time. So you know what? We're gonna make this the biggest tax advantage you can possibly have. You can depreciate this house. So if it's a $300,000 house and you depreciate it over 27.5 years, that's $11,000 you get to write off every year. If someone else is living in it and they're paying you rent and there's leftover money of $5,000 after all the expenses for the year, that goes against the $11,000 write-off, which basically means, wait a second, so that $11,000 is gonna eat into my $5,000 and my $5,000 is tax-free. There's $6,000 left over. What happens to that, Kris? Well, you apply it to your income. If your income is $80,000 a year, take another $6,000 off. That could lower you into a different tax bracket, and overall, you're gonna pay less in taxes. In other words, the more mortgages that you write off, the more houses you have, you can theoretically get yourself to a position where you never pay taxes. And trust me, I know that from personal experience. And the third and perhaps the most important reason why you should never pay off your house is that as it gets paid off with time and as it increases in value, equity expands. Every few years, I want you to go in and grab that equity, and I want you to go buy another house so that you can use it to literally do it over and over again. If it makes sense on one, it makes sense on 100. And if it makes sense on 100, now you know why I've transacted over 6,500 homes. Like, it just gets yummier and juicier the more you do it. So there are people that look at me and like, Krohn, you are in so much stinking debt. And I'm like, I know. Makes me rich. Would you like to be rich too? It's literally about controlling these assets. And I'm going to tell you right now that if you have a home with equity in it, don't have a strategy to pay it off. Do something different. I want you to have a strategy to pull equity out of it and say, one house made sense, two house makes more sense. If two house makes more sense, then 5 houses, 10 houses, frankly, infinite number of houses is going to make more sense, which is why 90% of all millionaires, they make their money in real estate. The rich know this. Do you know where they put the majority of their money? Not in the stock market, not a 401k, not an IRA. Do they look like idiots? No. Those things don't make money. Those things hardly help you save anything. What they do is not pay off their assets. They go buy more assets. Now, I fully understand that this video is not going to be super popular by a ton of uber financial Ramseyite conservatives out there, but if it made sense to you, then we should consider building some wealth together, because I've created a system that just literally prints money. And all I'm doing is starting with one home, and I'm helping you buy 5 or 10. If you'd like me to be your mentor, if you want me to walk you through this, if you want me to show you to the penny why you will always be richer with more money in your bank account and better tax benefits with every house that you buy, then here's what I'm inviting you to do. Liquidate that 401k, take the money out of your IRA, take the equity out of your home, and instead build a real estate portfolio. Now, you might want some hand-holding, or you might want me to help find the best deals for you, or you might want to know how to make the most money, the most cash flow, and have the biggest unfair advantage. And if that's you, I want you to click the link below, and I want you to fill out the form saying, Kris, I want you to be my mentor. And my team will reach out to you, and if it makes sense and you become one of my students, I will take you by the hand, I will give you my cell phone, and I will help you build a multi-million-dollar real estate wealth portfolio. And poof, here we are. I am recommending the next video, which is all about 2024, 2025. Should you actually buy a home or should you build a home? Because one of them is a significantly better choice. And if you don't know which one it is, click right here. I will show you.